If your hair is thinning, your edges are disappearing, and you're constantly tired, the problem might not be your hair products or your hair routines. For years, I blamed my routines, stress, and even my scalp. What I didn't know was that fibroids were silently affecting my health and contributing to symptoms that eventually showed in my hair. Today, I'm sharing with you the fibroids symptoms that I ignored for years, how they affected my body, and my hair was one of the first warning signs. Stay until the end because most of these symptoms appears to be completely normal, but they turn out to be the biggest red flags. Symptom number 6 shocked me because I lived with it for years. It was recurring every now and then without realizing that something was wrong with my health. To begin with, what are fibroids? They are non-cancerous growth found in our uterus, but I'll get back to this point because mine were completely different. Fibroids are extremely common in women, but they are more common in Black women. Fibroid symptoms vary greatly, but because the symptoms often develop slowly, many women normalize the whole thing. I normalized these symptoms for years, and that is exactly why I want to talk about them. It is never normal, friend. It is never normal. The symptom number 1 that I experienced was heavy periods. I would change my pads frequently because of the heavy bleeding. I had painful period cramps because when you have fibroids, your blood clots, okay, in the uterus, and my periods lasted for up to 10 days with the minimum of 5 days. I had a lot of stress. It was like my life was revolving around my menstrual cycles. And every month, my body was losing a lot of blood. And I didn't know exactly how these would eventually affect my hair and my hair health. This symptom is what led to me having severe anemia, extreme fatigue. I was always tired, extremely tired. I felt drained. I did not have energy to work. No amount of rest would quench the fatigue I had. I always felt like, lying in the couch, relaxing. I did not want to do any chores or any jobs, however simple they were. And when your body is struggling, hair growth becomes a lower priority. This next symptom is what I blamed on me getting older: brain fog and dizziness. I had difficulty in concentration, and I would search for items while they are right next to me. I remember one instance, I was searching for my phone everywhere desperately, and I did not know that my son was watching. And with me checking everywhere, trying to check on top of the cardboards and everything, and my son just came closer to me, hugged me very tight, and I did not figure out what was happening because for these teenage boys it's not easy, and African boys, it's not easy for them to give you a hug, and it was a very tight hug. And after the hug, my son whispered in my ear and told me, "Mama, your phone is in your left hand." And it scared me a lot because of the level of forgetfulness that I was in. And because I saw the concern in my son's eyes, I brushed it off and I told him it was because of my age, because I had just clocked 40 years some months back. So I just blamed my age and moved on. I would forget very important appointments. Like I was supposed to go somewhere, I could not remember until I was very late, and that brought about a lot of inconveniences. Hair changes was the fourth symptom that I had. My roots were shedding, my thinning escalated, and I would see no signs of hair growth. Like every time I did my retightening on my microlocks, I would stay for months without seeing any growth, without seeing any changes on my roots. And with all these struggles, it was very difficult to retain length of my hair. I kept researching on the right routines, the right hair growth tips, natural hair growth tips, hoping that they would fix my hair and my growth and my scalp. But the problem was not sitting on my scalp, it was happening from my inside. Now, what happened next forced me to start asking questions about my health and my well being. I started experiencing pressure on my pelvic. This was very uncomfortable because it restricted me from bending. I could not do my chores while bending. I could not walk for long distances like I was used to, and I could not even exercise. I was very stressed and worried about my health. Fake pregnancy sign was another symptom that bothered me for a very long time. This one was very real. Like I felt like there was movement. You know the way you feel when the fetus is moving in your womb? That is exactly what I felt. And I would have cravings for sugar, for some other funny things, and I would even vomit every now and then in the morning, like real pregnancy signs. This season of my life, I was married. I was married in my second marriage, and I got married with my two sons, the only two sons I have. And pregnancy at this time was very important to me. I later became pregnant, and at my fourth month, I lost the pregnancy. I had a miscarriage, and it was really tough. It was very hard for me. At the time, I was told it was due to an open cervix. That is what the medics told me when I went for emergency, because I started with bleeding. And when I went, they said my cervix was open, and that is what caused my miscarriage. Years later, after my fibroids diagnosis, I learned that when you have large fibroids, they can put pressure on the pregnancy, and that can cause complications and even causing the opening of your cervix, especially if you're working while bending, if you are lifting heavy objects and you have fibroids and now you're pregnant. That can cause the opening of your cervix and eventually cause complications, and you can even lose your baby, like I experienced. After the miscarriage, my marriage did not work because I was accused of procuring an abortion. And with all the health struggles I was going through, I went back home to my mom to live with her because we had just lost our dad around 3 months previously. So I went to stay with my mom because she was living alone and now she was still going through that grief. So it was, like it was the plan of God for me to go back home and take care of her. 2 years later, the symptoms got severe and I decided to go for medical checkups. The blood tests were done and my anemia was very severe. And by that time, the dizziness had escalated, the fatigue had escalated. I was completely unwell. The ultrasound, abdominal ultrasound was done, and I had large fibroids. Like they described, they said that it was a medium size of a watermelon. Okay, so they were big fibroids. And the worst case was because of how fast the fibroids were growing. I remember that time I looked like I was having twins. I was having a twin pregnancy because of how big my tummy was. And the doctors decided to do a biopsy, okay, because of how fast my fibroids were growing. And after the biopsy, they found out that my fibroids were cancerous. Fibroids were the cause of my heavy bleeding, and the bleeding caused my anemia. If your body has been sending you signs, okay, you're experiencing hair loss, you're experiencing that fatigue, you're experiencing dizziness, you're having heavy periods, and your hair is generally thinning and your edges are, disappearing completely, it may be worth discussing these symptoms with your healthcare professional. The word of God in the book of Hosea 4, verse 6, it says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. Or in other versions, they say, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And so, when you have this knowledge, when you know everything about this science, you are equipped. And so you are able to navigate through that season and go for treatment early, go for checkups early in your journey. In the next video, I'll be sharing with you my personal bleeding story and answering a very frequent asked question by most women. How much period is actually too much? When can you tell that this is a red flag? Because we normalize everything about our periods, okay? We blame it on maybe taking certain drinks. Maybe we talk about, I took coffee, that is why I'm having heavy periods. I have stress, that is why I am having heavy periods, okay? I There are a lot of blames that we put on our heavy periods. But what exactly are the alarming signs concerning our periods? That is everything we'll be discussing in our next video. Make sure to subscribe because that video could be a wake-up call and help someone recognize when is the right time to seek help from a professional. My name is Flongugi. I am a natural hair educator. I help women regrow their hair, adapt to the right routines, understand their scalp and heal their scalp so that they can regrow their hair naturally and voluminous and with a lot of hair. Thank you so much for your love and support. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't, please do so and share this playlist. Share these videos with your loved ones, with the women in your circle, with people who are struggling with hair loss, okay, and thinning edges and periods, heavy periods and bleeding. Share with them because we want to reach as many women as possible. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in my next video. And I love you so, so much. Stay safe and see you then.